Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Total Football Talk. So, we're going to look at all the latest news and transfer news coming out of Manchester United, and we'll have a quick look back and reflect on the match that took place last night with Manchester United against Real Sociedad in the Europa League. But as always, there's absolutely tons of news. It just keeps flowing out of Manchester United. So we'll just have a look at the headlines. We'll start with some stuff that's coming through about Kobbie Mainoo and his thoughts on a potential either whether he's going to stay or move away from Manchester United and where that move could lead to. We'll also look at what Rubin Amorim has said about the match against Arsenal on Sunday. Just one of the quotes that came out in the press conference last night, I think, or maybe it was after the game some stage, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have a look at, sort of doing the rounds on Twitter. There's a caption of how Manchester United ticket sales are going for the game against Arsenal, because obviously there's the protest which will be taking place. So it'll be interesting to see how many people actually fill the stadium. From this little caption I'll show you in a little bit. We'll just have a look at how many empty seats there are available, which is kind of unbelievable considering it's Manchester United Arsenal. We have massive rivalry, we have a lot of history, especially going back in the early 2000s and late 90s, whenever we were kind of battling each other for the Premier League, and it's always been a massive game, always a sellout. But yeah, potentially not this weekend, and obviously that's due to the debt. And we'll have a look at the debt and the figures that's causing us. And we'll have a look at a couple of other bits about the Juan Gimenez from Argentina, a centre half, 18-year-old that we're looking at. So we'll have a quick look at that. We'll also look at what is Antony worth now, because once again he's had another kind of good night in terms of the Europa League. And then we'll have the last look at James Trafford and the latest story surrounding the goalkeeping situation. But okay, let's start with Kobbie Mainoo. And Kobbie is this is news coming out from Caught Offside. I've read it in the Metro. I'll put the link below. That Kobbie Mainoo would only entertain a move to Chelsea if they offer him a higher salary than Cole Palmer, according to reports. I mean, what do you guys think about this? First of all, do you want to see Kobbie stay? Do you want to see him go? Do you think we should sell him to bring in some money to help our financial situation? Should we be nurturing our young talent? Should we be bringing them through and trying to do everything that we can to keep him? Now, it looks like Kobbie's got about just over 2 years on his contract, so we have to figure out what it is we want to do, how we want to move forward with him. Do we want to sell him? Do we want to sell him to a rival? In some ways, are Chelsea a rival? I mean, Chelsea are much further up the league than us. And yeah, technically they're a so-called top six rival, but in current league standings, we're nowhere near them. They have a young team. Do they need another young midfielder? Should they not be looking at a striker? Should Kobbie be looking at 180k a week? I'm not sure what Cole Palmer's on, but I can imagine he's on quite a substantial wage. So it's fascinating to see where this one's going to go. For me, I would love to see Manchester United keep him. I think he's one for the future. I think he's got the ability to play in 3 different roles. He can play in the 6, he can play in the 8, he can play in the 10. And I just think he's one for development. He's still only 19. He's still got plenty of development ahead of him. I don't think we should be letting him go. But obviously the financial restrictions are really going to have an impact on us, which are, we shouldn't be having to deal. We shouldn't have to be managing this financial situation the way we are. But we'll have a look at that in a moment, and we'll give some figures on that. But coming out last night, Rubin Amorim was talking about the Arsenal game. Funny enough, and the Arsenal game. So he was saying, we have to be really smart during the game against Arsenal. We have to check the players to feed the players really well. They have to sleep. It's an important game in our season. We have to survive Sunday and then be ready for Thursday. I mean, what do you think he's saying there? I think he knows the importance of Sunday, but the more important game is the game against Thursday against Real Sociedad. We are hanging by a knife edge. We are, everything comes onto this Real Sociedad game. We have to find a way to get through it. I don't, by hook or by crook, whether we scrape across the line with a dodgy penalty or a scrappy goal. I really don't care how it is. Last night, if you look at the formation, it worked because we were comfortable. We, as Manchester United supporters know, especially slightly the older ones, we've gone to Spain before and we've always struggled, and especially in Fergie's days when he's always tried to go there and play a 4-4-2 before Carlos Queiroz came in and told him that he maybe needed to have an extra man in midfield, and that's quite well documented in recent interviews done with Fergie and Sir Alex and his Sir Alex Ferguson, the documentary in the BBC, and other people have spoke about it. We tried to play a different way. Or we tried to bring our Premier League way into European ways back in the 90s, and we really struggled. We got outnumbered in midfield, and it didn't always work. Kyrgios came in and helped them change that. I think last night was one of those nights whenever the system worked very well, kept us comfortable for most of the game. Okay, it changed after they got the penalty. Ugh. But what can you do? They got the penalty. It's, on technicalities, it probably is a penalty. But we defended well and we created chances. Okay, they weren't the best chances, and partly due to Dallo not crossing the ball when he should have, but we did create chances. We were comfortable for most of the game. I think the players are starting to understand the system a bit better. I think there's a long way to go, and I still think he needs all the players, the right players for him to help him sort of move forward quickly. But I think he realizes that Sunday's important. We can't get hammered, but I think he would probably take a defeat on that to a certain degree, or a scrappy draw, to move forward in the Europa League. But yeah, so obviously he's thinking about it. He knows how important the Europa League is, and he's got a job to figure out a team to put out, because I don't know what players are going to be available against Arsenal at the weekend. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But speaking about the Arsenal game, so this is a caption that was doing the round on Twitter. And if you look at all the darker seats there, all the seats are still available. Now, the game is 2 days away. I've never ever seen Old Trafford, quarter empty maybe, and there's still so many seats available. I could probably get a ticket for it. I could imagine half the people going to the march could probably get a ticket for it, which is unbelievable to think that there's so many seats available at this ground, at our ground, to at such a game of massive importance, but maybe more so to Arsenal. But it's said in the history of Manchester United and Arsenal rivalry, which it is a rivalry, is a pretty big one. There's so many. It's unbelievable that there's so many seats available. But is that due to the fact that there is a march, due to the fact that maybe people are talking with their feet a little bit? I appreciate a lot of those tickets have probably been sold already, because that's how it operates. Players or season tickets are bought in advance, so a lot of those seats will have been sold. But people don't go to the ground; they don't spend the money on X, Y, and Z, coffees, burgers, that type of thing, confectionery, whatever. So obviously they'll be losing money that way, and this has an impact on the club. So maybe we're talking and we're making the right noises surrounding this particular game. Obviously there'll be worldwide media coverage, so it will be interesting to see what happens during the protests, and to see what kind of coverage we get, and to see what kind of effects it has on Glazers and the Ineos. Okay, so and just speaking about that, there was a caption that someone put out on Twitter. I'm not entirely sure how true this is, but if it is true, the annual salary of Manchester United employee on national minimum wage, nearly 24k. Daily interest payments on the Glazers loans, over 100,000 a day. So I mean, take from that what you want. When you break it down, it's just mind blowing that all these people are getting sacked. And obviously, where's the major issue? It's the debt repayments are absolutely crippling this club. And until we find a way to get the debt repayments, cleared, we will always struggle as a club, which is highly disappointing. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you that. And now we will move on to. So there was a story coming out yesterday. It was about Juan Gimherez, who's close to becoming a Manchester United player. The idea is that he stays at Rosario Central until the end of the year, and then he goes to England. And that's coming from the Argentinian side of things. I mean, this is an interesting one for me. I think that he's a young centre half. I don't really know anything about him. Literally the bits I've read. Up and coming, they're calling him sort of in the mold of a Virgil van Dijk. Very, very difficult to say. A lot of expectation on the kid if that is the case. But I think Manchester United are really looking at the youth market. If you look at Leon, the Paraguayan back that we've brought, powerful and quick, and he's going to come over. Dorgu, who we've bought, again, young, powerful and quick. and we're obviously looking into the youth market quite heavily at the minute, but I still think we need experience. We still need to bring in some experienced players. Otherwise, this is all pointless. It's an exercise where we could be left with a lot of kids, and if they struggle, especially in the Premier League, God, they could get absolutely crucified if they don't have some experience around them. So I am interested in this. Fascinating to see whether we actually bring this kid in, and fascinating to see where it goes. But yeah, it's a slight concern that a lot of our players that we're looking at are all young. Now, Antony had a good night last night. He registered another assist for Real Betis. That's six goal contributions in 8 games. Are we going to get? How much money do you think we're going to get for Antony? That's my question. Do you think that we will get any money for him? Like sort of over, like obviously, there's talk there of 50 million euro. I mean, I'd love 50 million euro in terms of monetization. That would actually give us quite a big helping hand in the transfer window in the summer, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it might be more about 25 to 30 million. I think maybe we're talking in pounds maximum that we'll get from, regardless of how good his season is. I just don't see him going any further than that. I don't see it going any further than that. But please get your thoughts in. What do you think? Do you think he's worth more than that? Do you think we should get more than that? You know, do you think we'll get less than that? Do you think he can keep this up until the end of the season? Because he is doing well, and it reflects well on Manchester United that he is doing well. Now, the last story was one that was going around yesterday, and that was that, you know, Manchester United are ready to step in and step up their transfer interest in James Trafford, as both Andre Onana and Altay Bayindir could both leave in the summer. Now, I don't think either goalkeeper are going to leave in the summer, from being realistic. I think that Tom Heaton could potentially leave because I think his contract's up, but I can see Bayindir and Onana staying. Onana's already said that he doesn't want to go, he wants to stay, so he wants to fight for his corner. Altay Bayindir is a decent backup. Actually, I would switch them. I know, fair play to Onana, he did well last night. He made the saves that I expected him to make. The last one in the dire moments was a very good save, considering that it was the time of the match. It was really important that we didn't concede the second goal, and that we came away with a draw that we probably deserved. That we probably deserved a little bit more, in fairness. But I wanted to give a shout out. So that's where we are with Trafford. I don't think he'll come in. I don't think we'll eventually go for him. But if we do go for him, he could be a very interesting option. The other thing we need to keep an eye on is our English quota of players, or our British quota of players. That is an area that we do have to keep an eye on. So maybe there is that in mind. But I think it's more a case of Onana wants to stay, and he's going to try and prolong his contract and do what he can to stay. So he's not going to be going anywhere soon. And finally, just shout out to De Ligt. I didn't do it last night. De Ligt was absolutely brilliant last night in the match. I thought he was my man of the match. I thought he's just coming on leaps and bounds. He's getting better and better, and he's leading that back line, and I'm absolutely delighted that, you know, he is showing all the qualities that I thought he had before he joined us. And hopefully, if he can carry on, he'll be a very good sign for us going forward. He's only 25. He's got plenty of mileage left in him, and hopefully he can only get better. Thank you, guys. I'm Keith. Thank you for joining me this morning. Please leave me a like if you can. Subscribe would be amazing. And yeah, I shall see you tomorrow.